There's a new law in Texas called the SB 20, which is a law that makes it a felony to possess, promote, or access any visual material that depicts minors under 18 engaging in sexual conduct considered obscene and created using AI. The point of the law was mostly to curb AI-generated content of minors, and I absolutely agree in that regard, but there are worries from people that this bill might lead to the banning of manga or anime as well, because they do frequently feature high school characters being exposed, and I guess the Texas government doesn't recognize the difference between fiction and reality. There are plenty of people who already talked about this bill, and they were concerned that the media that they love is going to be censored. I think there is absolutely something to be concerned about, but I also think that we should not overcorrect, as one bookstore owner decided to pull off Dragon Ball Z from the bookstore in fear of the government knocking on their door and be like, "Hey, is that the manga where young Goku is bare naked?" I detest this law if it's eventually used by the government to restrict freedom of expression in not just anime and manga, but also fiction in general. Fortunately, from what we are seeing so far, the censorship that happens is out of someone fearing government retribution just to be on the safe side, not because the government actually knocks on their doors and asks about the books that feature bare-naked kid Goku. The state of this bill is basically the same as piracy. It's technically illegal, but it's rarely enforced, or at least for the common citizens. Will the Texas government search your homes and stores for all the anime and manga that you own and arrest you for daring to show any forms of nudity? Hopefully not. While this law does give them that power and authority, whether they will actually use that power to censor anime and manga is something that we haven't seen yet. So, to all the Texans out there that love this medium, the government is pushing you further and further underground. And this is something that you definitely have to pay attention to if you want to keep the medium safe. That or just sail the seas. It always works. Speaking of problematic manga featuring minors in sexual situations, what better manga to illustrate people's absolute discomfort of that than My Dress-Up Darling? I really like My Dress-Up Darling. It's a nice little romantic comedy manga about the world of cosplaying written by someone who did an incredible amount of research for it. Some people don't like the manga or anime, which is fine, but at least have your criticisms be sensible? This person cited how the manga has terrible writing, and I absolutely beg to differ on that front. I think the writing is pretty solid as far as characters are concerned, and I'm actually more leaning on Gojo being the ideal romance character, more so than the obvious otaku bait Marin Kitagawa. This person cited this reviewer who complained that the story relies a lot on coincidence, and how that is bad writing. I reread the first 60 chapters of the manga out of, at the time of writing, 115, and I don't know what the hell this writer was going on about. For one, they are classmates, so the chance of them meeting together every day is incredibly high. For two, it's only a coincidence in the first chapter. The rest of the events proceed entirely on their own will. Not a coincidence at all. But this is connected to the writer's second criticism, which is incredibly nonsensical. Shinichi Fukuda has never heard of consent. I'm sorry, what? That's the best explanation I could come up with for how a woman could be capable of writing a show that grossly objectifies and abuses its female protagonist as much as it does. No, it does not abuse the female protagonist at all. Kitagawa's passion about her hobbies trumps her protection towards her body. Not to mention, she's sharing her passion towards someone that she's very comfortable sharing with, and she gets increasingly more comfortable sharing them over time with Gojo as her romance develops. It makes perfect sense to me. The protagonist of Slippery Girls 2 is forced to join a club for sexual humiliation. In other words, he engages in sexual situations without his consent. That's bad. Is this really the level of media criticism that we are praising? This is like saying, that prick killed John Wick's dog. That's bad. Yeah, we know. It's fiction. Inside another fiction. On top of all the times that Kitagawa's consent is never prioritized. Marin Kitagawa is a fictional character. She's not real. Her consent is never prioritized in this blatantly fantastical romance story that I really like. If you actually read the manga, she absolutely consents to almost every scenario that she puts herself into, especially the fan service heavy ones. Just because the writer makes her character oblivious to the security of her own body doesn't mean that the writer doesn't understand consent. This criticism is terrible. It's just another reminder that media criticism is an art form in and of itself, and a lot of people on the internet are just really bad at it. If we're gonna talk about consent, this next hoopla should make you all incredibly worried. I do not care about the lack of consent that fictional characters give. I do care about the lack of consent real people give. There is a worrying and concerning trend of female Indonesian fangirl Sims who decided to AI edit themselves with whomever their idols were, like athletes or K-pop boy band members. One of the pictures have the idol, the guy, groping the fangirl's breast. One of them also has the fangirl being pregnant from the idol's baby. I don't usually describe something as sexual harassment, so I meant every word when I say that this is absolutely sexual harassment. Why do you dox people? This isn't your business. First off, you mentally deranged fangirl simp, those pictures are public, not private, and you made them public so that your idols can see them. Some of them were taken by the idols as PSAs and warnings to everyone, hey, don't do this insane creepy garbage please. Second, this is 100% the business of everyone. The moment you make those pictures not only public, but also directly to the same idols that you want to get noticed by. This is quite literally senpai notice me behavior, and one of the comments from these AI editors literally said this: should I become a maestro too so that I can be noticed by them? Maestro is the song by the K-pop boy band 17. Pretty good song, but you will never be a maestro when you generate AI art of you with them. This is what we Indonesians call gangguan jiwa, aka mental illness. And if we're gonna talk about mental illness, there's no worse candidate of mental illness than this absolutely horrific confession. This was easily one of the most insane things that I have read in a long time. All pro shippers are so fragile and cry the second you insult their disgusting, rapey, and pedophilic behavior. Gee, I wonder why people are upset when you insult them and call them pedophiles and rapey when they are not. They're all crybabies that know they're wrong. They're not wrong because they're talking about fiction, and you're conflating fiction with reality.
You're confusing fiction and reality, brother.
I love harassing pro shippers. I'm starting to become addicted to harassing those pedophiles. Pro shippers are not pedophiles, so you basically just admitted to the world that you love harassing innocent people. Great job! If you want to ship characters, then knock yourself out. That is not the general sentiment that I got from anti-shippers, but do go on. Be considerate with the pairing, fictional or not. It's wrong. It's morally wrong. Shipping fictional characters together is not morally wrong. Harassing real people is. It could also involve into something more if you're constantly feeding yourself pedophilic ideas. By that logic, if I watch a lot of action movies, it could evolve into me wanting to kill people. Also, Havoc was great and Nobody 2 was great, go watch them. And there's also the Naked Gun reboot, which was incredibly hilarious. But by your logic, this movie makes me want to crash into cyclists. You will become a pederast if you keep telling yourself minor ex-adult is fine. Clearly, you're forgetting the fiction part of the conversation. No one gets out of Goodfellas or insert any gangster movie starring Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci here and thinks being a gangster is perfectly fine. I have had sexual fantasies with my family members and kept telling myself they were normal. What did you just say? I tried to rape my older sister in her sleep.
Police! Help! Help! Police!
I think it's best for us to go into another topic that is slightly less, I don't know, criminal. Let's talk about phones. Ah, yes, phones. Smartphones, a great modern invention that lets me see horrible takes like that. This one is thankfully way less horrible, but still worth commenting on. Even as someone who loves Android, I would have to refute this claim. Maturity is realizing Samsung is way better than iPhone. No. Maturity is realizing people can choose whatever phones they like. I'm not a fan of iPhones, but even I can recognize that there are plenty of people that love the camera, the Apple ecosystem, and their general familiarity with iPhones compared to Samsung or any other phones. If you can afford them and you are more familiar with them, go ahead and buy them. I'm not gonna judge. If you cannot afford the iPhones, Samsung has plenty of budget phones that are incredibly affordable and do the job just fine. I've owned plenty of Samsung phones before, including one of their flagships, and unlike Apple, they at least try to be competitive on the budget mid-range market. Samsung's S-tier flagships are only worth it if you want a flagship phone that's not an iPhone. Personally, I recommend Samsung's A series or even the FE lineups if you want a better bang for your buck in terms of phones. I still have the S21 FE that I bought 3 years ago. If you can find brands other than Samsung like Motorola, they also offer decent options. Then there are also other brands like Xiaomi, Realme, Oppo, Vivo, Infinix, even Asus, all that jazz. Whatever phones you chose, if it works for you, then you make a great purchase. If not, then buy something else. That's real maturity. Speaking of maturity, I am so glad that AI these days are mature enough that they're genuinely decent and usable for even the most recent information. That being said, AI in the hands of dumb people will not make those people smarter. Talk about colossal waste. Wow, we've been burning money for 6 months! This is a story of a Redditor who decided to waste around $1,200 a month for GPT-4 and OpenAI usage. That is a crazy amount of money that you spend for using AI. What the hell are you wasting all that money on? It turns out that this Redditor wasted all that money on these ridiculously simple tasks: extracting phone numbers from emails, checking if text contains profanity, reformatting JSON, and literally just making text in uppercase letters. All these things can be done for not only a fraction of the cost, as this guy just recently found out, but they can be done for free. To prove how using AI for these tasks is a huge waste of money, I will have an expert to come in and share their thoughts on the matter, and that expert being AI itself. You could have extracted phone numbers from emails using regex or basic NLP. You could have checked for profanity using simple keyword matching or open source filters. It's all a matter of matching words. Even 10-year-old computers can do that. You could have reformatted JSON with built-in functions in most programming languages. Uppercasing text can literally be done by a one-line function. These tasks do not require GPT or AI. As Copilot pointed out incredibly well, doing all these tasks with $200 worth of AI is like hiring a Michelin star chef to butter toast. You are spending hundreds or even thousands of dollars for these incredibly sophisticated AI to do tasks that basic programs can do for free. You're supposed to work smarter and cheaper, not dumber and more expensive. And that's all for the video today. Here's a cat. Huge thanks to all the wonderful sponsors this week. You're all fantastic. Don't forget to check out my previous videos here. Click the like button, comment, subscribe, join the YouTube membership, leave some tips, just $1 down below. And thanks for watching.